You cannot heal unless you want to heal. You have to decide to lead your ego and not be led by your ego. And that means for you to be wealthy, you need to be comfortable with being seen. Because trust me, there is no wealthy person who doesn't get to be seen. As much as we are told that wealth is quiet, no. What happens when you actually lose control over how you're interpreted? Jealousy and admiration are the same. Not teaching, you are teaching. Okay, so by teaching somebody, you're obviously teaching somebody. And also by not teaching somebody, you're still teaching them something. Okay. Hello guys, how are you doing? I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to today's episode, Woman Enough. I am your host, Zarila, and this is where we get to learn, unlearn, shed habits that are not benefiting us, and pick up new ones that are beneficial to our growth. Today, we're going to be discussing allowing yourself to be seen. You have to allow yourself to be seen superficially and also the deeper meaning of whatever that phrase means. So you have to allow your inner world to exist, and you have to allow it to exist unapologetically, outwardly, without shaming yourself, without hiding, or without even polishing yourself down so that you can become palatable or acceptable to other people. And this means that you have to be able to master your own thoughts, master your emotions, master your personality, and master your imperfections, so that when you're showing up in this world as who you are, you know exactly what your thoughts are, and you can be able to express them outwardly. You know what emotions you feel when certain things happen, so that you are able to steer situations differently without letting your emotions take the lead. And then you're able to know what your personality is, so you know how certain situations make you feel, so you know whether to avoid certain situations or to be part of certain situations. And then you get to know what your imperfections are, what you're not good at, so that you're able to allow that to exist without you trying to make it better or trying to edit it to fit a certain to reach a certain threshold. Okay, so we humans, as we discussed in the previous episode, have developed filters. And this is because it was very important for our survival, or for our ancestors' survival during the prehistoric period when they were trying to survive. So it was very important then, and it still is now, but as important as it was then, it might have lost some of that importance along the way. But still, we get to develop these masks, and you start from childhood, depending on how your environment is. I remember once I said that, imagine you have a kid, right? You're a mother. And then this kid doesn't spread their bed when they wake up. They are a 4-year-old. They don't spread their bed when they wake up. You don't tell them that not spreading their bed is not okay. But you as a parent, you're not okay with that, but then you don't tell the child, or you don't correct them to make their bed. So by the virtue of you not doing anything about it, you have instilled in this child the idea that it is okay to not have your bed spread. If they come back and find that you have spread the bed for them, that will teach them that, hey, even if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Okay? And if you tell them, hey, you should have spread your bed, and you make them spread their bed, it teaches them that if I don't spread this bed, somebody will make me do it. Okay? And that means that spreading the bed for me is a non-negotiable. So as in teaching, also in not teaching, you are teaching. Okay, so by teaching somebody, you're obviously teaching somebody. And also by not teaching somebody, you're still teaching them something. Okay, the same way with yourself. If you don't teach yourself what is okay, you're teaching yourself to accept what is not okay. Okay, so you have to be active in your own growth, because yes, childhood traumas is real and it's a thing and it has happened to all of us. But at some point in life, you have to get to a point where you cannot blame those traumas anymore. You cannot blame your parents for neglecting you anymore. You cannot blame them for beating you up wrongfully. You cannot blame them for, you cannot blame them for everything they did. Yes, it's okay to process trauma. Actually, it's very important. Like, you have to process your trauma. It's very important. But I feel like as a generation, most of us are stuck in the point of trying to analyze our trauma. Like, we have a generation of people who can tell you exactly what is wrong with them, but people who are also very stuck, people who don't know what to do from there. Like, yes, I have figured out that I have this trauma and I have this trauma and it happened to me at this point and at this point, but then what? Then what? Okay, now we know you have all this trauma, and then what happens, right? So analyzing our trauma and psychoanalyzing ourselves and knowing ourselves is very important. But at the same time, do not get stuck in that. You have to allow yourself to flourish. You have to allow yourself to be outside. You have to allow yourself to now start thriving as a version of yourself that is healed. And you have to heal, okay? Because you cannot jump from analyzing traumas to healing, to just being like an existing person. The thing is, I always say, like, you cannot heal unless you want to heal. Like, it is just a matter of saying, you know what, I won't let this affect me anymore. And you move forward with that mentality and you apply it to every situation that happens in your life. I can't let this steer my life anymore. That is simply it. Like, you can watch 1,000 podcasts, you can listen to 1,000 motivational speeches, you can go watch 1,000 YouTube videos, like, you can do all this, but it takes the decision. Like, it takes you making that decision and being like, yeah, I can't let this be the director of my life. Like, I can't let this be the way that I make my decisions anymore, because at least now I know, at least you're aware that maybe you are making decisions based off of fear. And now that you know that, you can choose not to make decisions based off of fear. Okay. And this means that when you're developing a filter, because again, this world is a circus and you will get so hurt if you show up without a costume. We all need that costume. You can't always, okay, authenticity. It's a paradox. Okay, be authentic, be yourself. Okay, it's very important. Know yourself, be thyself, and always show up as yourself. But also, when you're showing up out here, be sure that every other person is wearing a mask. Every other person is acting and every other person is performing. And it hurts so much when you show up as yourself in a world that is meant for performance. Okay, so it's that balance between, okay, I always connect these to Carl Jung's philosophy. He talks about the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. And he also talks about the way the human psyche is divided and the way we have all these like archetypes, and also the way we have like, an ego and the other part of you that is not the ego. So I always like to refer my mask, like the mask that I put out when I'm going out here, to as the ego. That is the ego. And then there's me. And then there's that person that I am. I know that I am, and my personal views and who I am, my authentic self. And that has to be there and it has to always shine. But at the same time, your ego does need to show and it needs to shine. I always, okay, people talk about the ego death, which is important. Like, of course, your ego has to die at some point, but it's not in the literal sense that your ego dies and you know you don't have an ego. Like, an ego is very important. It protects you in this world where people are performing. Okay, almost everyone out here is wearing a mask, and it doesn't mean that people are bad people, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that people are walking out here being bad people. No, a mask is, not, you don't know the real authentic people that you interact with on a daily. Like, you don't know them as you think you do. There are some parts of them, there are shadows that you have never seen and will never see. There are parts of them that they do not express in public. You will never get to interact with those parts of them. And when you decide that now you're going to show up to the world as this plain book for everybody to read, it becomes very difficult on you. It becomes very tough on you, right? So you have to decide what mask it is that you're going to wear. You have to decide to lead your ego and not be led by your ego. And that means you have to learn your ego and adjust it to being exactly what you want to be. The ego is just a tool, just like fire is, just like a knife is. Depends with how you choose to use it, Also, now, as we have talked about all these things, the masks, whatever, and the whole topic of this, or the whole point of this, was to tell you that you have to allow yourself to be seen. I was only giving this back information so that you learn that the reason as to why you don't want to be seen is not because you are a shy person. It's not because you have nothing to say. It's probably because you have learned to wear a mask that is of hiding. You've learned to wear a mask that is, hides you, because maybe you have associated being seen with rejection. Maybe you have associated being seen with, being hated or being picked on, but maybe somebody else has associated being seen with opportunities, with approval, and with acceptance. And it becomes very easy for these people to want to be seen. And that is why you ask yourself, why does this person always, is the first to do this, is always confident about whatever they want? Maybe it's because they have associated being seen with things like approval, with things like acceptance, with things like opportunity. And you, on the other hand, you have associated being seen with being rejected, with being hated, with all that things. And that will obviously make you retract and not make you not to want to be seen. But opportunities don't nitpick you from your bed. They don't pick you from where you're sleeping. They don't come for you like where you're hiding. Opportunities need you to show up. They need you to be seen. They need you to be out there. And also, I was having a discussion with somebody and I was telling them, for you to be wealthy, or for you to be wealthy, you need to be comfortable with being seen. Because trust me, there is no wealthy person who doesn't get to be seen. As much as we are told that wealth is quiet, no. These people who are wealthy, they're always traveling, they're always going places, they're always talking to people, they're always making business deals, they're always doing these things. They're always in the limelight, right? And this means that for you to, if you're a person who is looking to make wealth and a person who is looking to become something, to have a career, to become something, you have to be comfortable with being seen. You have to be comfortable with people analyzing your ideas and people getting to have a sneak peek of your mind and how it works. And this takes me to this question, right? What happens when you actually lose control over how you're interpreted? Because that is the most thing that we want to control in our lives, how other people see us. And I remember, as I am a person who used to struggle with be overthinking in public and being like, if anybody laughed behind me or in front of me, I was like, yeah, they're laughing at me. And then I would start analyzing myself and looking at things that they might be laughing at. And it was a very bad state to be living in, to be honest. And I know so many people are living in such or a similar state. And the whatever helped me come out of it was reminding myself every time that everybody is the center of their own world. Everybody is thinking about themselves 24/7. Yes, you might do something embarrassing, but trust me, it will only stick for 5 seconds and somebody has gone back to thinking about themselves, right? And most of us have been held back by this belief that what will people say, But what has really helped me is realizing that people have their own lives, and people, the same way you're the center of your own world, the same way you walk around thinking about me, is the same way everybody else is walking around thinking about themselves and themselves and themselves. And again, when you're judging like yourself through somebody else's lenses, it's more like you're judging them by thinking that they're judging you. So like there's no point. And again, you will never know what somebody's real thoughts towards you are. You will never know what somebody really feels about you. You will never know, and you don't even have to, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, right? What matters is how you feel about yourself. How do you feel about what you're doing? How do you feel about yourself? Are you confident? Are you happy? Is your self-esteem, put together? That is what matters. What somebody else thinks or says, it doesn't matter. In their world, it might, but in yours, it should never matter. Okay, so this means that when you start being seen, or when you start letting yourself be seen, you lose control over how you are interpreted. And it is a very liberating feeling, because you don't walk around thinking like, what are people thinking anymore? It's like a whole load has been removed off of your shoulders, and now you're walking around a liberated person, somebody who can exist without questioning themselves every 5 seconds and judging themselves through the lenses of other people. So you also get to tolerate authenticity. And authenticity is something very phenomenal to me, because authenticity is obvious. And you can always see an authentic person and somebody who is performing. And it is like instantaneously obvious. Like you get to see it anytime, right? So when you see authenticity as a person who is not authentic yourself, it can either elicit two emotions. One, jealousy. Two, admiration. Jealousy and admiration are the same emotion. And the only difference is how you alchemize them, right? So for the typical way that we explain jealousy is somebody is going to start plotting evil against whoever they feel jealous on or about. And you can choose, like we all feel jealous, jealousy and admiration are the same. It's just that you can choose to not feel like, these people should not have what they deserve. Rather, you can choose to feel like, I also deserve what they have and I can get it someday. They're just early, but I will also get there someday. That is the difference. But it's the same emotion. But how you choose to name it and alchemize it actually affects how this emotion affects you too, So as I was saying, when somebody sees an authentic person, it can elicit two emotions. Either you can admire it or you can become jealous of it. And what points to you admiring it is when your own nervous system is healed and you are also authentic yourself. And it makes you feel, it feels good. It's like terms. Even though what I'm about to say doesn't make like terms don't attract, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's like you people are compatible because you're on the same frequencies, But when you meet somebody who is inauthentic and somebody whose self-esteem is in the pits, and then they get to see an authentic person, they feel a real burn in their heart and they're like, because it reminds you that yes, you're authentic, and there are parts of you that you're actually hiding every single day of your life because of one, two, three. And life doesn't care about your traumas. That is the greatest paradox of it all. Like, life is weird, life is unfair inherently, and it will never care about your traumas. It will never care about what you've gone through. It doesn't care whether you went through the worst that anybody can go through. It's going to hand you the same experiences that it hands everybody else. It's going to hand you the same pain, it's going to hand you the same joys, right? No matter what it is that you went through. So what you can do is make sure that your baseline is good. Because again, as we said, your life is a dance of emotions. Sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low. What matters is what is your balance? What is your normal? What do you feel on a daily? So this means that parts of you that you've hidden inside, they are always there. They're like in your subconscious mind. And remember, Carl Jung said, if you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So most of us, the things that we call fate are just the unconscious things that we have chosen to not make conscious, that are just running our lives behind the scenes and we have no idea. So for an inauthentic person, like, I don't know whether there's an inauthentic person, but for somebody who has learned to mask who they are and to hide, you have to know that you need to rise, because you actually do need to rise, because the world doesn't care. Okay, unless you want to die in that situation that you're in right now, you have to wake up and you have to rise and you have to figure things out. And how do you figure things out? You have to fix yourself, because it always starts from within. If your nervous system is regulated and you're okay, and whatever energy is circulating in you is clean and pure, everything else around you is going to feel the same way. Remember, you're the creator, you're the source, you're the beginning, you're the one who sees, and you're the one who perceives, and you're the one who creates the reality around you. Right? So whatever is inside is whatever is going to be outside. If you're happy, you're regulated, you're authentic, you know yourself, you know what triggers you have studied yourself, then the same will translate outside. Okay? And still the opposite. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, you don't know who you even are, your own reality is going to be as confused as you are. And again, we can't be nice about this. Like, there's no way you can be nice be nice to yourself, talk to yourself nicely, but also be hard on yourself and remind yourself that these situations need to change. And there's no way a situation is changing unless I change, right? So you have to allow yourself to be seen. That is the only way out. You have to allow yourself to make mistakes. You have to allow people to see you in different fonts. You have to allow people to see you in different situations without you having to explain yourself or having to tell people that, there's people who, like, they choose to do something themselves. They decide, today I'm going to wear, let's say somebody who doesn't wear baggy pants, and then they decide today they're going to wear baggy pants. And then they go outside in public and they keep asking people, hi, what do you think about my baggy pants? What do you think my baggy pants look good on me? I don't even wear baggy pants. But, now there are people who negotiate their emotions like that. Like, there's somebody who chooses, actually, I am done with this. I am done tolerating this situation. And then they go and start negotiating. Like, no, maybe I should consider not. Maybe no. Maybe this is not. Maybe I shouldn't be feeling bad about this. But you obviously feel bad about it. So that means you feel bad about it, right? And whether you should or should not doesn't matter. Bottom line is you are feeling bad about it. So what do you do about that? If you start negotiating your own feelings, then you teach your nervous system that it is okay to negotiate. It's okay for people to make you, like, shift your decisions, and it's okay for people to tell you what to do and when to do it, which is not a nice way to live life, So allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be in spaces where you've never been before. Allow yourself to do things that you've never been before. Allow yourself to expand your horizons. Allow yourself to be put in circumstances that you actually don't know how to deal with, because it is in being in those circumstances that you will learn how to deal with them, you know. So be a risk taker. Be a risk taker emotionally, be a risk taker financially, be a risk taker everywhere. Allow yourself to do things. Allow yourself to be like, breathe in and breathe out a lot of times so that you allow yourself to just be, because there is joy in just existing, and you have to show up for you to get opportunities, bottom line, you know. So showing up is non-negotiable, girlies. You have to show up. It is non-negotiable, and you can't keep saying that I'm shy, because there is nothing like you're shy. You're just masking yourself because of something that happened to you as a child. And we have said that we won't live there anymore. We won't be living in those bands or whatever it is that happened to us as kids. We are adults and we can be able to take charge of our own lives and our own minds. And that is what we are doing. So wake up tomorrow and remind yourself that it is okay to be seen, that it is safe to be seen. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.